It's
one of the most common questions is, well, how long is this going to take?
And I think it's about healing. It's not about blaming and fault finding or dragging the other side into court, trying to make them a bad
rather
person.
than labeling
we read this
entire childhood
Here's what happens to you as a child.
Yeah, I want to be a thriver. I want to move from surviving to thriving. Because there's a
what
difference.
was nurturing, because I am here, something must have nurtured me at least enough to get me to this point.
And once they're able
What
to
was
trust somebody, be it a male or female. Sexual abuse in regards to male victims, I think, has a lot to do with the shattering of boundaries. I always just picture just kind of a thin piece of glass or a mirror that's just taken and thrown up and falls flat on a concrete floor and just goes everywhere.
I don't think that the sexual abuse is about the sex. I think it's about the abuse, and it takes on the sexuality is the form that it takes on.
I mean, I can't think of a greater betrayal than a parent abusing their child. And the sadness comes from knowing that this runs in families, that this is what they experienced some type of abuse as a child, and they were not able to cope with it.
You know, the odd thing about it is, though, children are made aware of rape, male on female rape, all of their life. They never hear about female or male on male.
And that's where I get angry, because they always want to be rational and logical. Say, well, why did this happen? Well, first off, you've got to suspend logic, because it's not logical for a parent to sexually abuse their child. That there's something deeper, there's something cross-wired going on inside of them.
I work with at-risk youth, young men who are involved in gang activity, and have police records and things. Young men and women who have police records, come from dysfunctional family systems and things of that nature. So I wondered, how'd I end up here?
I know it wasn't until I worked with survivors for about 3 years that incidents which had occurred to myself that I had memory of, but I had just never given any significance to, started coming to the forefront, and I started realizing how angry I was about them and how betrayed I felt. And it had a particular significance for myself because it involved my religion, because it was clerical.
What I remember is the one incident. That was enough. I remember secondary episodes of sexual from the same person. It's really hard not to get into what profession it was to give you the, and it was horrible. I don't know what else to tell you. It was painful.
Then my mother decided to move to California. We were living in California when the second bouts of the episodes began. My mom was kind of emotional. She was very emotionally unstable. Also, she had been taking psychotropic drugs, Thorazine, so she was pretty fried, and her boundaries were shot. She's deceased now. And she had this boyfriend, this guy named Joe M. So I'm giving you the background leading up to the bathroom episode.
Oh, and there's a couple of other instances with family, but they were sexual. I mean, manipulation. I recall it being at a relative's house. One night, someone woke me up and abused me in the middle of the night in the darkness.
I was having questions of faith anyway, and that really kind of pushed the brink and landed me in a no man's land of what to believe or what not to believe, and whether to believe or not, period.
I said 77 or 78. I'm in the 5th grade, and I'm taking a bath. And as I'm getting out of the bathtub, my mom comes in the bathroom. And I ask her for a towel. She hands me a towel. I get out of the bathtub, and she starts assisting me in drying off. I think this is peculiar because this generally never happens, and I'm 9 now, and I can do this. And she's down by my genitalia, and she's rubbing my genitalia really softly and sort of sexually. And then she starts sucking my penis. And while she's sucking my penis, I'm just kind of letting her do it. You know, it's one of the issues I had to work through because it was arousing. Because when you touch a penis or lick a penis becomes, it's arousing.
The 2 sexual abuse incidents in my life, one was as an 8-year-old by my father in a drunken rage. And the second one, the most recent memory that I've had, deals with me as a 5-year-old. And one of my brothers and a couple of his friends that were drinking, and that I was about 5 years old and being a pest, and one of his friends sexually abused me, and then ridiculed me and sent me away.
So Joe M bursts in the door. Joe M says, you're trying to get some without me getting some. I look at my mother, and she looks at me with a very sick look and continues to suck my penis, and Joe comes in, and I guess he's preparing himself for sexual intercourse. He's taking off his pants, and I'm looking at my mother, and I'm begging her, please stop. She puts her hand over my mouth, and she restrains me while Joe sodomizes me anally. And he uses soap as lubrication, lather from soap as lubrication. And he fucked me really hard. He really he damaged me physically. And then he after that he physically beat me. He beat me and then told me, you know, gave me the whole threat, you know, the whole threat piece, I'll kill your whole family, da 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 da, that whole piece. And basically I lie on the bathroom floor with my rectum bleeding. And my younger sister Cynthia comes in the bathroom, sees me, screams, runs out. My mother finally comes in the bathroom, gets me, cleans me, puts me to bed. That's the bathroom episode. A couple of weeks later, we're taken from my mother.
Well, the way this played out with me, and my understanding at this point, is that as an 8-year-old, I was sleeping, my father came home drunk, he wanted me to do things to him that I didn't understand what he wanted, and I didn't do them right. And so what I carried with me as an 8-year-old is the feeling that if I'd have just done it right, then I wouldn't have been hurt. And he left the message with me that I was a bad boy because I didn't do what he said. And then when I tried to tell my mother about it, she said I was a bad boy because I was saying awful things about my father. So I've carried around with me that I'm the bad person, that somehow I deserve to be hurt because I didn't do it right.
Well, actually, my first recollection of abuses was when I was 5. And I didn't know it was abuse until later because it was with one of my older sisters. I'm the only boy in our family, only male out of 6 kids, and I got some older sisters. And I was about 5, and she had to be about 13 or 14 at the time.
Yeah, I think the problem of the older female and the younger child is that they're doing something that emotionally they're not able to handle. Physically, they can handle it. And you talk about an intense, pleasurable feeling, okay, that is boundaryless, okay? It does a lot of damage to that adolescent or that pre-adolescent or that preschooler going through that. That gives them information that they are just not developmentally able to handle and deal with.
And she was changing clothes, bras or something one day, and invited me in the room. And she told me that she had been aware that I'd been stealing some of our father's change. He used to put his change up on the mantle. And I was stealing it. And gosh, I didn't want to get a beating, a thrashing. And so I succumbed to what she wanted me to do. She asked me to fondle her breasts, lick her breasts, perform cunnilingus on her. She performed fellatio on me. And that went on for a while, from about 5 to 7.
I was given a talk one time in a school setting, and it was brought up that there was knowledge that several 14, 15-year-old boys were being sexual with women in their mid to late 20s, okay? And of course this was happening outside the school, not at the school. And there was an attitude of, like you said, well, so what, you know, lucky kid, you know. Why not have him get taught by somebody with experience so they'll know how to do it? Was some of the attitude there? I presented, well, okay, and I asked, well, does anybody have 13, 14, 15-year-old daughters in here? And a couple of the educators raised their hand, and I said, what would be your reaction then if she was being sexual with a 28-year-old man, you know, outside of school, you know? I'd kill him, you know. There's that double standard.
And then another thing on top of it, my mother was involved in one of my episodes. And that's been the most difficult thing in my life. That's been the single most difficult. And to have this person be involved in a total dehumanizing situation is still very painful for me. I'm still angry about that.
Crying was not anything that anybody did. And I remember I had 2 older brothers, and they got down and tickled me till I peed in my pants. And my mother was standing there telling them that they shouldn't do that, but nobody ever tried to stop them. And then once I peed in my pants, then I got ridiculed for peeing in my pants. So not only was there the actual sexual abuse that occurred, but then just the constant reinforcement in so-called harmless horseplay. And nobody ever talked straight to you. There was always the way you dealt with people was teasing and teasing you. And if you got mad or angry, well then what's wrong with you? I mean, you can't take a little teasing? So I grew up with the idea that if you didn't tease me, then you must not like me. And yet at the same time, that caused me to withhold information because I didn't want to be teased about it. So if I withheld information so I couldn't be teased, then I couldn't let you know anything about me. So again, it just sets you up in a double bind, or catch-22. So you know, how are you supposed to live? Well, you talk about sports and politics and those things that are out there, but you don't talk about anything in here. Again, don't talk, don't trust, don't feel.
I come from very much of a ghetto background. I grew up in the inner city. A lot of dysfunction in my family, a lot of domestic violence, substance abuse, sexual abuse, just the whole piece. And as a black man growing up, I felt it culturally inappropriate for me to speak out about being hurt.
I think boys, though, tend to keep their mouths shut more because of homophobic issues that, you know, I'm supposed to be this little man here, and I let this happen to me, and this big person's telling me that shouldn't have happened to me, and so, you know, I'm not going to admit to it then.
You know, we're so much aware that, well, gee, you know, women get abused, but society isn't ready to hear the story of men being sexually abused.
Yeah. There's only certain people that you mention the fact that you were sexually assaulted as a child against your will because you couldn't do anything else. Yeah. And it's like a taboo subject or something.